Hello, and thanks for joining me for the welcome talk about the computer science and software engineering degrees here at the University of Leicester at this digital open day. My name is Dr. Matthias Heinz, and I'm from the School of Computing and Mathematical Sciences, where I am the admissions tutor. And there I'm teaching computer science in general, and in particular software engineering and human-computer interaction. And what I really love about those two topics is that they kind of span a variety of aspects that computer science has to offer. On the software engineering side, we are a little bit more analytical, a little bit more technical, where we plan and design our software with data analysis and diagrams. Whereas on the human-computer interaction side, we look at the human aspects. There's kind of a hint of psychology there. We try to figure out how people are behaving when they're working with software and why they behave in the way they do. And in my module, CO 1106, Requirements Engineering and Professional Practice, which you will take in your second semester of your first year when you come to the University of Leicester, there we are combining both of these aspects. So we won't write a single line of code there, but no worries, there are plenty of other opportunities, other modules where you do that. But instead, in this module, we will go through all the steps that you should perform before the coding actually starts. So in a group, you will come up with a project idea and then design instruments like questionnaires and interview scripts to collect the opinions and needs of your target groups, and then analyze that data, formalize the results in statements, which allows developers to implement a software solution for your end users. And those statements is what we call requirements, as well as through creating models, which are visual representations of your system. And the language we use for that is called UML, the Unified Modeling Language. So in this module, you will work creatively on one hand, for example, when you come up with your project idea, but also analytically when you analyze the collected data to draw conclusions and figure out what you should implement in your system. You will work theoretically when you create your diagrams, but also practically with end users. So therefore, I really think that computer science has something to offer for everyone. And I'd be happy to go into more detail, but due to the time constraints today, I'll stop here. However, I'm happy to chat with you about that at the end of the session if you have any questions there. So speaking of the session today, we are already a little bit into the welcome talk, which will be followed by a student talk from one of our student ambassadors. But how will the talk be structured? So here's a brief presentation overview, what I'm going to cover. So first of all, I'll address the question, why should you choose the University of Leicester for your degree? And at the University of Leicester, why should you choose computing there? To do that, I'm going to talk about the different degrees we have, what innovation we introduce in teaching and learning, how our research informs your learning, and how we are going to support you if you become a student here in Leicester. And that will then lead to topics like careers and employability of our graduates. And if that then hopefully has convinced you to apply for one of our computing degrees, I will then briefly cover entry requirements and the application process. The presentation will then conclude with some final comments before I then hand over to Ansel, our student ambassador, to present kind of the student view on things. But let's start at the beginning before we dive into all that information about studying a computer science or software engineering degree here in Leicester. Let's first hear a little bit about the university itself. It was founded in 1921. And we are proud of this long heritage, but we don't just rely on our legacy. We actively work on improving the university and get the best for our students. So today we pursue excellence in knowledge and learning to transform our community, our world, and and beyond. And this has also been recognized in several awards and nominations that the university has received this year as well as in previous years. We have like an ongoing history of awards, and this year we have one University of the Year 2025 award and shortlisted for others. One of those is the Times Higher Education Awards, which is known as the Oscars of higher education. We also have been awarded a Gold Award in the Teaching Excellence Framework, which is a national scheme run by the Office for Students. And as a university, we are extremely proud that we hold that overall gold, meaning that our university gives you an outstanding experience and helps you to build for your future. Those accolades are an appreciated recognition of the high quality of our university and our teaching, but what's especially paramount for us as lecturers is what our students think about it. And for that, we have the National Student Survey, which is one of the largest of its kind in the world, with more than 339,000 responses across the entire UK this year. And we are proud to be a university that not only produces world-class research, but is also one of the top 30 universities in that NSS in the student survey. So something that I get asked a lot at Open Days is, what about accommodation? And the answer is that the University of Leicester guarantees you accommodation for your first year, with rooms starting as low as £69 per week, which includes all the bills and some basic content insurance. And then what usually happens then, first year students move together with friends in private accommodation for the following years, but you can also apply to stay in university managed accommodation. And we have two accommodation sites. One is the village and one is the city. The city is just like a 5-10-minute walk from the main campus. The village is a bit further away, but don't worry, there's a free bus shuttle that gets you to the university and back. So that's just as a brief overview why we think that you should come to the University of Leicester in general. Let's now see why we would recommend you study computing, and there especially computer science or software engineering here. There are first of all our excellent facilities. There's the Ken Edwards building, which is kind of the home of the School of Computing and Mathematical Sciences. In this building, we have lecture halls, we have our staff offices, but also student and study social spaces where you can meet with other students. Also, we have lecture theaters here. Some of your lectures will also be in our new development in the Sir Bob Burgess building. And for practical sessions, we have the Percy G building. You can see the Percy G lab in this picture. And the special thing about this lab is that it's exclusively for students of the School of Computing and Mathematical Sciences, which includes 24/7 access with your student ID card. So if you become a student here, you will have exclusive 24/7 access to this lab. But we also have additional labs, for example, the David Wilson Library Lab, which you can see here in the bottom right-hand corner, where you can also go to do your practical sessions or to work on your project. So that covers kind of where you would study at the University of Leicester, but what would you study here? We have designed our degrees in a way that they allow you to experience the exciting world of computing and meet current practical industry needs, as well as building lasting foundations for your future. And our degrees are a BSc in computer science from 2025 onwards, also with artificial intelligence. Or you could do an MComp in computer science, which is an integrated master's degree, for which the first 3 years are identical to the bachelor degree, and then you have a final 4th year with more advanced modules, and you'll write another dissertation there. Or you could study our BSc Software Engineering, which is core computer science with optional modules with a stronger focus on applications and business. We also offer a BSc Creative Computing, which combines not only computing and business, but also creative skills. All those degrees come with the option for a year in industry or a year abroad, but more on that later. Let's first have a look at our first year in computer science and software engineering. So both degrees have a common semester 1, where you focus on the fundamentals of the different aspects of computer science and software engineering. If you want to know more, I can't go into too much detail because of time constraints, but if you want to know more, please go to the website. There are the course pages there and the module descriptions, and you can find all the information on there. But we are aware that our students come to us from different levels of previous knowledge, and our semester 1 is designed to address exactly that. That means there are no prerequisites in regards to computer science, programming, or mathematics other than a certain level of GCSE math. But other than that, we don't have any previous prerequisites. Thanks to that common semester 1, it's also possible for you to freely change your degree from one to the other. You can go from computer science to software engineering or the other way around. In semester 2, we will then continue to lay the foundations of your degree with content that you can see listed on the slide. And that will also be where you would have my module that I teach, the requirements engineering module. In year 2, you will have more advanced modules, but also more option modules to choose from. Also, some of those will be mandatory if you select the with artificial intelligence variant. So let's see which themes and topics you can explore in your year 2, 3, and 4 if you do an integrated master's. Again, due to time constraints, I can't really go into detail about the individual modules, but the areas are software development and human-computer interaction. Again, that's the theme where I'm teaching in, and as I said at the start, what I think is important and special that we plan properly our software, and not only that, we then also have tests where we can find out, have we achieved our goals? We have user tests, we have automated testing, and this is all wrapped up in this topic. The next theme is artificial intelligence for cyber physical systems, which not only covers artificial intelligence, which is omnipresent at the moment, but it also integrates that into systems which combine tangible and digital components to create autonomous systems like the robot dog that you might have seen in some of our promotional material. The next theme is big data and machine learning, which becomes more and more important with the amount of data that is being produced each day worldwide, where we are currently at more than 400 billion gigabytes, and this amount is just growing and growing and growing exponentially. So here we teach you ways how you can handle big amounts of data, and machine learning is one of the strategies that we are going to teach you. And then lastly, cloud technology and cybersecurity are another important theme in computer science and software engineering, so that you can optimize computing and at the same time make sure that our data is safe. Those, as I said, are only example themes. You can also discover other advanced topics, but for that, I would again ask you to please ask at the end of this session or check out our website. We will continuously support your learning through our teaching. On this slide, you can see kind of one highlight for each year. In the first year, as I said before, we are aware that people come to us with different levels of previous knowledge, and we then take you at whatever level you are and teach you Python and Java either from scratch or from wherever you are. In year 2, you will work on a software engineering group project where you will have the opportunity to work with a real company as a client to solve their problem in a group, and where possible, you will have meetings with representatives of a company to elicit their needs and kind of then create a software that fulfills their requirements. And then in year 3, you'll be working on your final year individual project, which allows you to show off your employability. It looks good in your CV, and it will therefore support you with the next steps in your career. The education that you will receive during your degree at the University of Leicester is inspired by our world-class research. So the lecturers you will have are at the forefront of research in their areas, and that allows us to not just teach you what is currently needed, but also look ahead what will be needed in 2 or 3 years when you graduate, and make you ready for those topics as well. It also allows us to include that research in your degree when we teach you, and towards the end you might even be able to contribute to that research, like you can see on this slide, where one of my colleagues, Raiko, has published this paper together with one of their students and other co-authors. However, besides learning at the University of Leicester, you also have the option to learn at one of our partner universities or get hands-on experience during a placement. So as promised, we will now continue with more information about opportunity for an extra year, which you can either do in industry or abroad. For industry, students from the University of Leicester have gone to a variety of companies, and we have a strong support system in place that helps you to apply for placements and succeed. And why should you do it? Because it gives you major advantages in experience, in skills, in your job prospects. Like there are students that have done a placement and then got offered a job by the company, like Cameron, one of our recent graduates, who then did decide to go to a different company because that fits what he wanted to do even more, but he had that offer to go back to his placement company. For the year in industry, you can basically go anywhere in the world. It's subject to approval of the company by our placement tutor, but it's basically worldwide. Whereas for our universities, if you go a year abroad, then we have partner universities in Rome, Valencia, and Frankfurt. And we can support you with grants and language learning if you want to go there. And new destinations in Asia and the US are constantly being added. But you don't have to do an extra year to get hands-on experience or to travel abroad. You can also do that and much more through extracurricular activities like this autonomous vehicle project, where a team from the University of Leicester went to Ingolstadt in Germany to participate in this remote, not remote controlled, but in these autonomous driving smaller cars. So a solid education and great student experience inside and outside of the classroom are very important, but we know that for you, that's mainly the stepping stone for your future career in academia or industry. So we make sure that everything we do prepares you well for your future careers by supporting your career development from day one, by identifying and working towards your goal. We have an industry advisory board, which we use to adapt our curriculum to the market needs. And you can see on this slide that our graduates go to a variety of companies in a variety of roles. So if all of that hopefully now has convinced you to come to the University of Leicester and study computing here, then you might be wondering how you go about applying to Leicester, and the answer is you go through UCAS. You can see the most common entry requirements here on this slide. If you have a different profile, please email the admissions team, and then they can get back to you and answer your questions. So if you apply successfully and then come to the University of Leicester, there's a multitude of support systems in place. We've already talked about the support for your transition from the university to industry with our career support service and potential placement and things like that. However, we also support you in your transition from school to the university. You will get a personal tutor, which will run several sessions that introduces you to life at the university, and throughout the degree, there will be constantly there to answer any questions you might have or help you out with any potential issues that you might face. But you cannot just benefit from staff supporting you. We also have student societies where fellow students will support you. And one society that I would like to highlight here is the Computer Science Society, which is kind of an obvious one for you to join. But they don't just do computer science events like hackathons. They also do trips abroad or organize social events. So that's an option for you, but there are many more societies. For example, a craft society or a book club. If you need a screen break, there is a variety of societies to choose from. You will hear more about this from our student ambassador, but before I hand over to them, I would like to conclude my presentation with a summary and some final comments why we think that you should choose Leicester. So first of all, we will make you career ready, and the success of these efforts can be seen by the fact that 97% of all computer science students are employed or in further study after 6 months of their graduation. Our BSc and MCom computer science and our BSc software engineering are accredited by the British Computer Society, which provides you with the assurance that your courses are delivering relevant learning that's regularly updated and that meets the high standards that are set by the profession. As I said, we have student societies and networking, which allow you to socialize and to benefit from other students. Again, I will leave the details to our student ambassador to talk about it from their perspective. But we also have the personal tutor that is going to support you. Our research-led teaching underpins your degree and makes sure that your education is up to date. And last but not least, as I said before, our facilities are excellent and allow you to study in a supporting environment so that you have everything that you need to support your studies. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. We'll have time for questions at the end of this session, and I see there are some already in the chat. So please add more if you want to know anything. For now, I'm going to hand over to Ansel, our student ambassador, for the student talk session and his perspective of studying in Leicester.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ansel Ong, and I'm a third-year computer science student. So I'm excited to be able to talk about my experience so far studying at the University of Leicester. So going into a university is going to be a new and unfamiliar experience for a lot of people, which is why the university has a lot of support services, a wide range of support services available to help students on their journey. So some students might be wondering, what are the university support services available from day one until graduation? And this statement here is actually true. And to expand on that, some services like the Careers and Employability Service are even available after you graduate. And to a student like me who's about to graduate in a few months, this is actually very reassuring, as knowing I can still receive support from the university even after I graduate. So talking about the Careers and Employability Service, There, I currently have a lot of friends who are doing their year in industry, and they always credit this service for helping them secure their placement offer. So I've also personally used this service to get my CV checked, and I've gotten a lot of useful advice on how to improve it, such as using more impactful words or changing some sections to be more unique so I can stand out. Another form of support that's really important that you receive as a student is having a dedicated personal tutor. So in my first year, my personal tutor helped me settle into university life and also helped me set some personal development goals. And reflecting back on my first year, I can say that setting those goals have helped me a lot, given me a direction, because they've helped me to build up habits to consistently achieve good grades, as well as improve my transferable skills such as leadership, organization, and communication. I have another story here. So one of my friends is diagnosed with ADHD, and it was actually his personal tutor who noticed something and signposted him to our accessibility service where he got that diagnosis. And to quote my friend, he mentioned this experience being life-changing as he finally understood his behavior and how he could handle it better. So I've talked a lot about the support services we have. How about the support you get in class? For example, teaching. You might be wondering, is the style of teaching at university even different from school? And the answer is actually yes. There's a lot more variety. For example, we have lectures, which is where you learn the theory, followed by the labs where you get to apply the knowledge to solve actual problems. And finally, the tutorials, which are like feedback sessions, where you get to learn about different approaches to solve a certain problem. And through these feedback sessions, you might learn that there might be a more optimal or efficient solution than the first one you thought of. So my lectures are very interactive as my lecturers love to engage students with lots of questions. I personally find the lab sessions to be the most useful as I get to solidify the content that I've learned through working on exercises. So during the labs, there'll be lots of teaching assistants walking around, and they're usually graduate students or even senior students who did the module before. So they're definitely really helpful in supporting. I have a lot of friends who didn't have a computer science background before starting university, but well, they really appreciate the lab sessions for the hands-on experience they can get. And I've seen them gone from not being able to write a single line of code to being able to code their own side projects in their own time based on their interests. Personally, I've studied computer science before studying university. Hence, I found the content in my first year to be on the easier side. So even then, I still had many opportunities to push myself to learn more. So for instance, one of my favorite modules is Programming Fundamentals, where we learn the basics of writing computer programs. As I already knew the basics, I was quick to complete the weekly exercises. Because of that, my lecturers started to provide optional programming projects, which were way more challenging than the regular tasks, and that was able to keep me busy and constantly learning. So to summarize, Leicester is suitable for everyone, whether you're a beginner or you're ready to push your limits. Of course, university isn't just about studying. It's also about what you do outside of class, for example, clubs and societies. So one worry that students have is whether they can join societies if they don't have the relevant experience. For example, they might wonder if they can join the computer science society if they don't know how to code yet. And well, the answer is yes. Not just the computer science society, all societies are welcoming, especially towards beginners. But talking about the computer science society, you might think, well, they only host technical events which involve lots and lots of coding. But that's not true. We also have social events, for example, this sports day poster, as well as our football competitions and networking events. So if you're not that confident in your coding, these events are perfect for you. Even then, you can still join coding challenges and hackathons. I remember joining my first hackathon at the start of my second year. I was put into a group with first and third year students. So even though my group consisted of first year members of varying skill levels, we were still able to work together where the more experienced members would help the less experienced members. And in the span of just one afternoon, we were able to produce a demo to present to the judges. I took that experience into my very next hackathon just a few months later. I was able to achieve a finalist award, and I'm really proud of this achievement. So of course, I would like to talk about the other societies as well. Going to university doesn't mean you have to drop your hobbies. And with over 200 societies, I was able to find multiple that piqued my interest. For instance, I joined the Quantum Computing Society, the Mathematics Society, and the Malaysian Society. So through these societies, I was able to meet people from different courses, and I could learn about what they do and relate that to computer science, which is what I do. When you go to a society for the first time, it's quite likely that you're going to see a lot of unfamiliar faces. And for someone like me, who's a very reserved person, the idea of just approaching someone and starting a conversation was very nerve-wracking. But well, I pushed myself to step outside my comfort zone. And after joining a lots of events, societies, and talking to a bunch of random people, I'm glad to say that I'm really happy that my social skills have improved a lot. So I've acquired a lot of technical knowledge from my classes, but it's through these societies, clubs, extracurricular activities that I've been able to develop my soft skills to prepare myself for life after university. Thank you for listening to my talk.
Thank you so much, Ansel, and also Mateus, for giving the presentation elements. We're going to move on to the Q&A section now. So we've had quite a lot of questions come through, which is great. Please, I just want to encourage anyone to continue posting any questions if you've got any, just while we answer the ones that have come through. So firstly, a question for you, Mateus. So a really good question. Somebody has asked, if they wanted to do an extra year, would they need to decide this when applying via UCAS, or can they decide this later on? So once they've started doing their degree, could they switch to a year abroad or a year in industry degree?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Very good question. You don't have to decide that already when you apply via UCAS. You can also, when you're here, you can still switch your degree with by adding a year in industry or by adding a year abroad. We would just recommend doing that during your first year, because then at the start of your second year, you will have extra modules that support you in your endeavors. And if you switch later than beginning of your second year, you would kind of miss out on those opportunities. So you don't have to decide right when you apply, but you can, or you can switch once you're here.
Brilliant, thank you. Another question, this one for Ansel. So could you tell us what the campus is like at Leicester?
Oh yeah, so the campus, one part I really love about the campus is that it's a really nice park that's next to it. I go there, walk there like almost every time, and it really helps after lots of studying to sort of relieve the stress and just taking nature for a while. So there's also lots of really good facilities and computer labs. So I do most of my work in the computer labs because it just has sort of that environment that encourages you to work hard. And as well as the library is also one of such environments.
Great, thanks, Ansel. Back to Mateus now. So someone has asked if the only maths qualification or knowledge that they have is GCSE level, how can they strengthen this before undertaking a degree?
Thank you. Yeah, very good question as well. So we have from this year on, we have kind of a preparation course. So if you are accepted to the University of Leicester, with your acceptance email, we are going to send you a link to an online course where you can kind of refresh or learn, if you haven't learned it before, some of the basic math concepts that will help you to get kind of a head start in your degree. So that's what I would recommend. When you get accepted, just go through that online course to see what you know, or maybe what you don't know yet or have forgotten, and then by working through that you can kind of catch up and prepare yourself. So that would be one way.
Great, thank you. While we've got you, Matthias, there's been quite a few admissions questions, so I'll just keep you on the screen. So someone has asked, what's the application/acceptance process like for people who already have their A-levels? When would they find out if they have an offer and have been accepted?
So if you already have your A-level grades in hand, I would recommend you email the admissions team and let them know what you want to study, what your A-levels are, and then they will get back to you either with a decision or with details what you need to do next.
Great, thank you. And then this one, I think you can both answer and kind of give your own perspective. So Matthias, you first. So how many contact hours are there per week?
Okay, that depends a bit on the modules. So some modules are a bit more theoretical, and then they have more lecture and fewer like practical sessions. Other modules are very practical, where you have a lot of tutorials or practical sessions, and then you have maybe a shorter lecture but more practical time. But in general, I would say you have like 2 to 4 contact hours per week per module, and you have 4 modules per semester, at least for the first year, and the rest you do what we call guided self-study, where you get kind of support from the lecturer in what you should read, or you could go through the slides or prepare for your exam. That counts towards what we call guided self-study, where you would have to do that on your own, but you would know kind of what to do during that time.
Thank you. And then Ansel, can you kind of tell us what a typical week might look like for you as a computer science student?
Yeah, so I find it to be pretty manageable. So start off with lectures, and then we'll have labs. So usually labs, I'll do it ahead of time, and during the labs, although there's still plenty of time to do the work during the labs, and I could get feedback from the lecturers. So I find that there's a good balance of contact hours, because I still get a lot of time to do the things I enjoy, and also enough time that I can regularly meet my lecturers in case I have any questions.
Great, thank you. And Ansel, how does your third year differ from your first year in terms of contact hours and the workload that you've got?
Yeah, so in terms of contact hours, it has decreased, because in my third year, I have to be working on my individual project, and that's sort of something I have to work on my own. It's an independent thing, and so there is quite a bit of workload in that, because I want to make sure my individual project is really good, because that's sort of what's going to be, it's a big part of my degree, and sort of a big part of deciding how to do things myself and learning things by myself, researching things.
Great, thank you. We've got a couple more questions. So again, there is still time if anyone wants to ask another question before we finish the session. So back to you, Matthias. Someone has asked, what's our gap year policy?
I'm not quite sure what they're asking for. So it might be best to email that question to the admissions team, and then we can get back to that, if that's okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Matthias. Another question that's just come in. So what support is there when you're completing your individual project?
So during your individual project, you have a first supervisor and a second supervisor. With your first supervisor, you have bi-weekly meetings. So you'll meet them every other week to discuss your progress, discuss any questions that you might have. You can obviously email them in between, but you will have at least a meeting every two weeks. And then there are different stages where we kind of check in on the progress. So you will have to submit several reports where you kind of summarize what you have done so far. There's an interim report, then there's an interview where you present your progress, and it's just to make sure that you are on track and that you will finish in time. So that's supported by a second colleague who will then look at, like, have that interview session, for example, with you, and so you get a second pair of eye looking at your work and giving you feedback and checking, are you on track to successfully finish your project. So you have your first supervisor, your supervisor who has these meetings with you every 2 weeks, and then a second lecturer who occasionally also checks in on your progress to check that you're on track and that everything is progressing well.
Thank you. And Ansel, have you do you know what your project will be yet for your final year?
Yeah, so my project is actually transcribing piano music based on visual data. So instead of transcribing based on the audio, I can transcribe based on, for example, how people's hands press the keys. So that will require, well, some kind of computer vision, machine learning techniques, and so on.
Cool, that sounds really interesting. Okay, so we've got time, I think, for one more. So Matthias, back to you. Somebody has asked, are there any awards available during the degree that somebody could be striving for?
Yes, I know it, at least for when you graduate, there are several awards that you can get. I'm not quite sure for during the degree. Maybe Ansel, you know that better than me. Are there any awards that students can get?
Yeah, so actually in my first and second year, I won an award for the top marks for my course. And there's also awards for the best group project. I think they also separate it based on computer science and software engineering, like the best projects for each in the final year.
Great, thank you. I think that's a nice note for us to end on. So thank you everyone for joining. And please see the chat. There's a kind of a follow-up link if anybody needs any more information. A huge thank you to our speakers, Ansel and Matthias. And if you have any follow-up questions, then please do get in touch. And yeah, that's everything. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your evenings. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.